Justice, it seems, for the family of Alexandra resident Collins Khosa here in Johannesburg. According to the SANDF, Khosa refused to comply with lockdown regulations, and as a result, he lost his life allegedly at the hands of law enforcement officers. Khosa's family then took the state to court for his murder, and in a ruling today, Judge Hans Fabricus ordered that the soldiers and police who were present during the time of his death be suspended. Well, we begin our coverage on the story with Slindelo Masakani from the ENCA News team, who is in Alex this afternoon. Sli, good afternoon to you. You are outside Mr. Khosa's home.
Yes, Jeremy, we are outside the home of Mr. Collins Khosa, who unfortunately lost his life allegedly to the police, or should I say the brutality from SANDF members who were patrolling on that particular day. It happened to be Good Friday on the 10th of April, where it is alleged that the SANDF members entered the home of Mr. Collins Khosa, which is right behind me right here, unwarranted, without a warrant, in fact, and without invitation to question Mr. Collins Khosa around the fact that there was a camp chair and a glass of beer inside his yard. And the family says that Mr. Collins Khosa had told them that there was no law prohibiting him and his family to be able to drink within their yard. Subsequently to that, according to the court papers, the family says that Mr. Collins Khosa was then dragged out of his home to have the SANDF members prove a point, and this is where they proceeded to beat him. And according to the papers, what happened was that they poured beer over his head, they choked him while holding his hands behind his back, slapping him, punching him and kicking him on his face, stomach and ribs, hitting him with the butt of a rifle and slamming him against a cement wall and a steel gate. And what we understand is that Mr. Collins Khosa died from blunt force trauma, according to the reports. And what we found today was that the Pretoria High Court then subsequently made a ruling following the case that was lodged by the family against the state in terms of police brutality.
Slindelo Masakani and Alex, thank you very much indeed. We'll circle back to you a little later this afternoon. Instant reaction now. SANDF Union representative PIKKIE, GREEFF, the South African National Defence Force Union. Good afternoon to you. What is your immediate reaction then to this court decision?
Good afternoon, Jeremy. Look, our point of view has been clear on it all the time, that whoever was involved needs to be taken steps against. I think the court is exactly right. It's just puzzling to us as a union that the Defence Force management would have taken so long, or need a court order to do what they should have done in the first place, which is investigate and suspend and discipline.
Whichever way you look at it, if you heard the piece from our reporter, beaten, choked, having beer poured over his head, this is it is unbelievably excessive, and it sends out a very poor message to the community, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. It's absolutely unacceptable that law enforcement officers and soldiers behave in this way. You know, they need to the public needs to have trust in them, and if they're going to behave this way or behaved in this way, then that just erodes the trust that the public now so desperately needs. You know, everybody is worried, everybody is under stress, and the last thing we need is the people that we trust on and rely on to be dealing with people in this inhumane way.
And that key word that you use is trust, and it is going to be incrementally more difficult, PIKKIE, GREEFF, for troops who are doing a difficult job anyway to win back the trust of the community, surely.
Well, it will be a very difficult task, and you know, one has to mention just again that really the SANDF management should have dealt with this in the way that we called on them to deal with it 3 weeks ago already. They should have immediately investigated and suspended whoever they suspected and started disciplinary proceedings. It just baffles the mind that they needed a court order to do so, and 3 or 4 more weeks. Absolutely unacceptable, and that of course erodes further trust from the public side, because the SANDF management is not seen to be doing what it should do in law.
What is your involvement as a union going forward now? How much more pressure would you be bringing to bear against the SANDF in this respect?
Well, I think, we've played our part now. I see that the judge in his order has given very strict guidelines and dates and deadlines as to when the SANDF needs to report back to him on the full investigation and what steps they are taking against the members that are allegedly involved. So we'll be watching that very closely. We're quite sure that the Defence Force Management would certainly not contravene a court order.
How does the investigation proceed then in terms of military justice?
There should be a board of inquiry. It should have been convened already. We're not aware whether one was indeed convened. We have received some information that apparently at one stage there was an investigation, but what should be done is there should be a board of inquiry, a formal board of inquiry in terms of the Defence Act, which should make findings and recommendations. Those recommendations, if everybody is implicated, should include probably that recommendation that people be charged in a military court. And the military court does have, except of course if it's a murder charge, then the military court will not have jurisdiction, then that will be trialed in a criminal civilian court.